Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday. This week we have with us, talking about Agile in construction, Felipe Engineer-Manriquez. Hey, Felipe, welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. Thanks for having me back. Love what's going on here.
Me too. This is getting so interesting. I already selected a clip to send to one of my teams because they really need to listen to what we talked about yesterday. Diving into the Tuesday episode, first, let's talk about a book that influenced you. What was the book that most influenced you and helped you define your own approach to lean and agile construction?
Yeah, I would say the number one game changer book of my early career when I was first learning about lean, and I was consuming about a book a month. That's as fast as I could read in those early days, and mostly on Audible. So like if it wasn't a book on tape, it wasn't happening. And the most transformative, the most amazing book that even sounds like a radio production is Elijah Goldratt's The Goal. The Goal. I know it's like an amazing book about it's fictional, but to show and explain and teach, and so you can internalize the theory of constraints. And that book is something that even now, as a registered Scrum Master trainer, that I try to embody and teach each of my students that are becoming Scrum Masters so they can understand how to make rapid improvements. And I think The Goal, and this is not talked about that often, is really a phenomenal book so that you can implement Kaizen, which is rapid change for the better with teams. And so in applying theory of constraints, I'm able to think as a system, observe an actual value stream, and mentally. And once you start doing this, and that's a whole rabbit hole you could go into, value stream mapping, that I think is very underutilized by so many Scrum Masters. And I'll even tell you that when I'm in Scrum training in the early days, when I was becoming a Scrum trainer, as people get to the end of the sprints, it's usually 2-day training. If the class is doing really well and asking a lot of questions and they're running out of time, they skip the lean stuff at the end of the final sprints, and they don't teach people theory of constraints. And so a lot of Scrum Masters that get credentialed never actually learn this. Now, luckily for me, I learned theory of constraints even way before Scrum. And what I used it for is in this method called last planner system of production controls, where we do reverse phase pool planning. We create what look like Scrum boards, but instead of labeling to do, doing, done, we use days of the week because we know we love Gantt charts. So we have to make our visuals look just like a schedule. It's got to look like a schedule, and it looks like a waterfall schedule. But when you understand theory of constraints, and there's a beautiful story for a lot of your listeners have probably at least heard of this book, because The Goal was a worldwide phenomenon that's been published in dozens and dozens of languages. What you learn in that book is that it's the slowest part of a process that actually governs and dictates where the improvement should happen. And in The Goal, there's a great story. There's a story within the story. It's very meta, where there's a team of hikers going, and this, I can still remember this, and I haven't read The Goal. It's been like at least 2 years since the last time I've reread it, but this is a book that I revisit in my yearly. I'll probably read it again now just because you're reminding me how awesome it is. But there's a story where the main character is taking some kids to hike in the woods, and there's a guy named Herbie that's slow. And by helping Herbie, he speeds the whole process up, and everything changes for the better. And I use that concept every single time I work with project teams today, whether
Yeah.
I'm doing full Scrum or just lean construction
I
techniques.
think theory of constraints is one of those underrated aspects that fully transform a system when we grasp it and how it's applied. Talking about transforming a system, very often we work with teams, and some teams are great, amazing. They get these ideas, they apply them, they just rock, and others kind of self-destruct. And on Tuesdays, we always explore that because we want to know what are the patterns that lead to that kind of self-destruction. So share a story of a team with us, Felipe, and what were those patterns, those behaviors that maybe started to show up as small interactions, but eventually grew and had a huge impact on the team's ability to perform.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, even just piggybacking from the goal that really taught me to internalize systems thinking, and I've read more books on that, but that is fundamental. And I learned in that book, just like there in that book, in real teams in construction, they don't self-destruct because they're bad, or you have bad characters, or you have people like actively trying to sabotage. That I've never seen. But what I do see is people getting crushed in terribly bad systems, and these people are doing all these workarounds to try to survive broken systems. So one of the first patterns I see is if I can discern that people are doing lots of workarounds to make processes, to support processes that are garbage to get the outputs, then I know that we're in a very self-destructive way and that they're going to get hurt. There was a one hospital project I'm working on in particular, and the biggest pattern of self-destruction that I saw was overcommitment coupled with silence, where people can't bring up problems. Psychological safety was so low that people could not even say that the emperor has no clothes. And people would overcommit impossible things. Like people would commit to, yeah, we're going to pour concrete on Thursday. And you would go and today's Monday. So that's like 4 days from now. And you'd go and you'd see there's not even rebar down to the area where they're supposed to pour. And these areas were so large that it's physically not possible to put the rebar in place that's going to be embedded in the concrete, let alone all the other things that have to happen before you pour concrete. But the concrete person was forced to say, because of the system, Thursday it is, because that's what the schedule says. So now, when I see these patterns happen, I'll be sometimes the first voice that says, but don't you need this so that you can do that? And I'm breaking the pattern
That's
by
actually a
asking the
great point.
question.
Let's. I want to highlight that you asked the question with the aim, with the intention of breaking a pattern that you already know is self-destructive.
Yes, absolutely. And that type of questioning it can be seen as annoying by certain team members, especially the ones that are holding the craziest to the Gantt chart schedule. But I always tell people, like, I just have to apologize. I'm just a simple, dumb general contractor, and I don't understand this. So, and I really don't. I don't understand why people need to overcommit. I mean, I do understand it's because of the low psychological safety. But what I'm telling as I'm answering to create the safety and to show them this anti-pattern is that trust is too low and they can't say that things are uncommittable. And so then
Yeah,
I'll just
it's
ask
like we
something
have to
obvious.
surface the things that cannot be spoken, right? Like if there's
Exactly.
lack of psychological safety, a lot of important things will not be talked about. But we have to learn to surface that in a way that the people that need to surface it don't feel like they're being blamed or pointed to or called out.
Right. Exactly. And then by just telling people that such a simple thing, like, don't you need this so you can do that? In Scrum, like I like my action oriented Scrum cards of verb noun phrases. I'm using a verb noun phrase like I'm making a Scrum task that I don't show them so that they can actually do their work. And that is very powerful to help make the work more visible and to break this pattern, because we're really in a low trust environment. And low trust environments, especially in our industry where yelling is still a thing, yelling at people is still a way to motivate teams. It can be a very tough industry to work in. And that type of environment really lowers trust. The turning point is when you can slow down, make the work visible, and allow people to actually say no. Like I teach now, like this accountability, because accountability is like the super hot thing. And I tell people, for real accountability, if people are not allowed to say no, then they actually can't make a real promise.
And it's not accountability. Yeah, exactly. That's hiding from accountability. Saying yes in those contexts is hiding from accountability.
Yeah. And we teach silence is not alignment. And that's a risk, especially for executives that come and make proclamations. They'll come and make these proclamations of things that we should do, and they with the best of intent for the project. But when the team can't react and say yes, I'll often again raise my hand and say, "Excuse me, I didn't see actually anybody agree to that." And I'll ask another question: what would need to be true so that we could agree? That's a totally different question, because now you have people engaging their imagination, and they can talk in a very detailed way of what is necessary to do so that they can be accountable and they can align to what's being proclaimed.
Yeah, that's actually a great question to ask. What would need to be true? Last week, we interviewed someone who was talking about decision hallucination. So decision hallucination was when you are making decisions based on assumptions that are no longer true or were never true. So it's a hallucination, right? It's imagining something that isn't there. And what you just said just triggered that thought in me that a lot of the decisions we make are, in fact, decision hallucinations. We're basing those decisions on something that either wasn't or is no longer true.
Right.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Felipe.
Yeah, thank you, Vasco.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.